Ladies and gentlemen, it is Driveway to Hell. I'm in a place called Banham. I got that right?
Banham. That's
perfect. This is the YouTube sensation that is Louis Hedge. Good to see you, fella.
Absolutely, and you?
Mate, this drive of yours is lovely. I'd love to show people what it's like, actually, but you're not really going to see much of it, are you?
No.
And your mum, you were telling me that your mum's like trimmed all the hedges, and which is quite cool because it's your second name.
Absolutely, yeah.
And mate, you've got such nice flowers around, but people can't see it.
Yeah, well, Mum's been busy in the garden. She's got some of my old go-kart tyres, using them as plant pots. So yeah, she's been busy. It's been busy.
Well, you've got an awesome garden anyway, mate. Listen, right, we've been trying to do this, me and you, getting together for a bit of a driveway to hell. We've been trying to do it for quite a while. I think was it last year sometime I said,
yeah,
I'll come over when I'm at Snetterton. It's 250 miles from me, but the pandemic and everything else, obviously we couldn't be in the car together and stuff like that. Bit of a nightmare, but I'm here, mate, and it's cool, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a long time coming, but I'm looking forward to it. It's been a very interesting start to the season with Donington, new hybrid regulations. So yeah, lots to talk about, and yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting season coming up.
Yeah, cool. And just so you remember as well, mate, your mum's making me a coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully she'll I know what she'll be like. She'll probably come out of the back door and be like, and she'll walk off because she'll think we're filming. Obviously we are, but that doesn't matter. Right, okay, Donington. Interesting one. So from a fan's point of view, and that's not to be disrespectful to you because I know you do a lot of journalism as well, but as someone who's on the other side of the fence generally, what do you actually, when you heard about hybrid for British touring cars, what did you think? Were you thinking like Tom Ingram? Were you thinking, yeah, it needs to happen? What were you thinking?
It was an interesting one because I think they announced it. It was a while ago. I think it was it 2019? It was a long time ago, and it's been a long time coming. And I think that has been obviously rightly so a big talking point coming into this new season because no one knew what was going to happen. No one knew who was going to be strong. I thought it was initially. I think a lot of people thought, oh no, hybrid. They're going to be all the cars are going to be quiet. Let's not change what doesn't need to be changed. Then I think everyone. BTCC, TOCA, ITV Motorsport, everyone did a really good job of informing us, about what this whole hybrid system is. Because I'll be honest, I love my motorsport, I love my touring cars, but the engineering side of it is probably one of my weaker points. I don't know much about that side. So I think once we read into it and watched different stuff, I felt a lot more confident in it, and the racing didn't change at all. It was interesting to see the racing without the success ballast, but I think the hybrid, for the various amount of boost the different drivers got for where they finished, worked well. So I thought going into it, didn't know what was going to happen, but I thought once I'd researched it enough and understood everything that was happening, I was pretty confident with it, and I was happy it was happening, and yeah, it's very exciting.
What did you think of? What did you think about the technology that was in the hybrid when you looked into it? A lot of people won't know much about it, but it's kind of like the road version of a hybrid, isn't it? But it is literally, it isn't a push to pass. You don't pass people with it. But when you speak to the drivers, it's literally, it gives them the chance to overlap for an overtake. So that means that the person in front has to defend.
Yeah. And
then the person in front can use it to defend. So it actually, I think on paper at Donington it worked well, didn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting actually because we watched most of the races from the old hairpin, and obviously once we got home we watched all the ITV footage back, and it was interesting to see where they used the hybrid and different sections of track. It's interesting to see in battles when someone's maybe had a slower corner.
There's your mum.
Here we go.
Hello there.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello. There we go.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Perfect.
Indeed, you can take the mug home with you as well.
Are you on about your son? I'm here all day. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Perfect. I think your mum's going to beat me up now, I have to say.
Yeah, it's a nice mug, that, isn't it?
That's a very nice mug. Look at that. You got your own branding and everything.
Absolutely. So yeah, Hedgeworks Motorsport on YouTube.
Absolute lad. Love it. But yeah, so they got the blue light at the side of the door, and you know, when you were at home, then did you think, oh, I know exactly what's going on? Did the circuit commentators know what was going on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's always difficult at circuit. I've always been saying this since we went to our first race like almost 10 years ago. It's that you miss stuff just because of how things go. It's a big outdoor venue, but that I could definitely see. I think the blue light helped. I think it's very interesting to start with, you know, right at the start of the season when different people revealed their liveries and like you saw the thing on the side and the numbers were in a different place and I thought, oh, what's going on there? But once learnt that was good, and I think once we'd got home and watched back all the footage on ITV, they did a really good introduction. I presume you've seen.
Yeah, with David Addison.
Yeah,
good.
Which I thought that was really helpful, and there was other stuff on YouTube as well. So it was good, and that's what the fans needed because, as I say, there was lots of speculation what was going to happen, and I think everyone's done a good job of informing us. So yeah, I think overall a very positive start to the new regulations. Yeah,
I've not heard many bad things actually about it. I'm a bit like, I mean, it was just weird seeing the cars on full electric down the pit lane.
Yeah,
that was weird. Literally, for a racing fan, that's the closest, and you know, not the noisiest the cars will be, but for a person who's a fan of racing cars, it's like, whoa, what's all that about? You know, it was bizarre, but it worked, and there was some teething issues with some of the cars. I know Adam Morgan didn't have hybrid maybe for the last two races. I don't think he had much of it in the first, but that's a talking point actually, because the rear-wheel drive BMWs seem to have a good weekend, and without hybrid, it's a bit of a worry.
Absolutely.
For the rest of the people, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, qualifying, really interesting. I always think that's one of the best qualifying sessions of the year, the first one of the season, because everyone's equal playing field. We see who the quickest are generally. And Jake Hill on pole, I wouldn't say it was a surprise at all. I think there's a lot of speculation going into the new year, how he'd adapt to rear-wheel drive, but I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised he'd be at the front. So he did a good job there. BMW won too, so Colin was really quick, and you know, I think West Surrey could have been very dominant at Donington. I know Jake did win race 3, but you know, they had a bit of bad luck, and that's just how it goes sometimes. And but yeah, the BMWs looked really quick again. You know, with West Surrey, I'm not really surprised with how good they are with their engineering and, you know, years of experience and success. So it's a bit of a worry, but you know, Tom Ingram looks super quick. They've seemed to have got that Hyundai sorted out now, with the weight and stuff. Obviously, I know it's heavier now than it was last year, but they obviously did lots of testing, which is good to see. But yeah, I think BMW are looking very strong this year. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It was weird. I must admit, I was surprised how quick the rear-wheel drive BMWs in particular were. The thing you've got to remember is the M Sport engine that some of the teams have, the Toka engine. I don't think, if I'm being honest, you're seeing it at its best yet. Yeah. I think they've come in, they've realised that it's a lot tougher than they imagined, but they'll get there. They had some good results. Josh Cook ended up doing okay in the end. Yeah. And then in the other Honda, I thought was quite an interesting one. It looks like he's banged back in the place where he belongs. Is Gordon Shedden as well? He did a great job, didn't he? Yeah. It was an odd one, Gordon Shedden, because I think there's been a lot of speculation coming into last season about if he'd come back, and I think that was always the plan. But it was a bit of a nightmare for him, really. He'd have sort of solid qualifying, good race 1, and then a step back in race 2, and then because it's in the middle of the day, it's a bit awkward to, you know, aim towards race 3. But he's came back in with a really strong start, and I think that'll help him going through the rest of the season to have the momentum high, and I think he'll be really happy with how that season started. Qualifying for him, you know, it was solid, but obviously a bit outpaced by all the BMWs at the front. But then race 2 looked really quick. I could see where we were stood at the old hairpin. He was braking so much later than Ingram, and I could see him just closing, and that's obviously where I think that's where he got the move done in the end, actually, around that part of the track where actually the hybrid was very important coming out of the corner, especially. So that was really interesting to see. So I think Gordon Shedden definitely, I know we were saying that all the way through last year. I know I did various prediction videos with people and you and saying, yeah, it's going to be his weekend. But I think this year he'll be a lot more consistent, and yeah, it's good to see. Yeah, he definitely needs to be more consistent, but he just looks fast as well. I think he'll be happy with that weekend. He he outdone Rowbottom by a bit as well. Right. I can't believe how fast you know what? No, I can believe how fast this lad was, because I know him pretty well and I coached him in junior series. George Gamble
Yeah.
has to be one of the most outstanding debuts for a long, long time in British touring cars. I know how good he is, but that was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't see that very often, especially with touring cars. It's such a difficult game to play. Like, even the likes of Dan Camish, I think people often use him as an example. You know, did brilliant in Formula 4 and Porsche Carrera Cup and all those, you know, big series. And then it's a very different kind of championship to those. You've got to structure your weekend in a different way. You can't always go for double wins or podiums in all three or whatever. But George Gamble did a great job. The car, as we've said, looks quick, and he's adapted to that nicely. We did say on the Saturday Adam Morgan might be a bit worried with the new kid on the block coming into the sort of a family run team. But no, I'm really happy for George, obviously, to get the podium as well. And yeah, he seemed pretty relaxed about the whole thing. I don't know if you saw him beforehand.
That's funny what you say. So when I spoke to the team, they were laughing because when he got on the podium, that's a massive thing in British touring cars.
Yeah.
But apparently he got out and the team were like, yeah. And he got out and he was like, you know, really? As if he would expect to have that podium, but you know his brother Tom Gamble.
Yeah.
I know he annoys him a bit when people go, oh, you're Tom's brother, aren't you? So he's the old McLaren Autosport BRDC winner, so he's driven an F1 car for McLaren. Top flight GT driver now, doing amazing things around the world. But George was always a talent, so I think it's amazing to see how well he did and it not to affect him. So that looks good for the rest of the year. But Adam Morgan, you see, he needed someone like him to push him because he hasn't had a teammate. I can't remember how long. I've been his teammate for 2 races, but no one's ever pushed him.
Yeah.
You know, Chilton, let's be dead honest, he didn't ever push him. How do you think Chilton will get on actually because it was kind of a steady start, wasn't it? Do you not think?
Yeah, I think because he was a bit affected by there were some mechanical problems I think they had. I think definitely when it was announced, I think it was at the end of last year that he was parting ways with Sicily. I wasn't too surprised. That's just how it was. I definitely think that was the right fit at him at Accelerate. I think front wheel drive's definitely his kind of style. I think definitely race winner this year. But I think the thing is with British touring cars, like all of the drivers are quick, but there's just some like your Turkingtons, your Suttons, who have just got it a little bit more experience, and that just sometimes overshadows, I think, people like Tom Chilton. But I think it's a good fit for Tom. I think he's going to be quick this year. I think he should be able to push Tom Ingram this year for race wins and podiums. And it'll be interesting to see how he compares with Dan Lloyd, actually, because I think Dan's going to have a good year. And you know, he was very close to being on the podium at Donington. I think he was only a couple of laps away from doing that. I know Dan, he's been busy like you doing his YouTube stuff, which has been given a good insight.
It's very good, that, isn't it?
It's really good, actually, really professional. So that's been good to see. So I think Accelerate, going into the season, everyone was saying, they've probably got one of the best driver lineups.
And packages, the Hyundai engine that Swindon have made for them, which is their own engine.
Yeah, absolutely,
Looks like they're in their hands of their own destiny. It's like, that looks like the way to go. So I think overall that looks good. Like you say, Dan Lloyd, he's a proper peddler. This is a massive year for Dan.
Yeah.
He needs to be as quick as Tom Ingram.
Yeah.
You know, and that'll be difficult because Tom's obviously had a year in the car. So it'll be interesting to see. What did you think of Ash Sutton? 3rd in the standings, 11 points off, which means nothing at the minute. But that's a good effort coming back front wheel drive. Nearly had pole, didn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, nearly everyone had pole. Yeah. Amazing effort though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was 3rd in qualifying. You know, it's always going to be interesting to see after 2 pretty dominant years in the Infinity how he switched back to front wheel drive. It did humour me, obviously, similar to the Jake Hill situation, but everyone was saying, oh, he's going to struggle. But, you know, Ash is a class driver. You could put him in anything and be in the top 10, you know. So, I think it was great to see him at the front. He was very consistent and just very, very solid. Maybe not, I think the last 2 years we used to seeing him with the car completely sideways and, you know, flying through the field. But it was just very, very solid, stayed out of trouble when there was, you know, I think at the start of race 1, that was quite chaotic. when the two BMWs had a very close and exciting battle, which I'm sure it'll be an interesting talking point through the rest of the season with that. But yeah, he stayed out of trouble, got the podium in race 3. Yeah, so like I think the Ford is actually a really underrated car. Obviously, it's the newer Focus that was brought into the championship in 2020, which obviously won lots of races with Ollie Jackson and Rory Butcher when he was in it, and Jake Hill. So yeah, I think he'll definitely be in the championship fight this year. Whether if he can win it, if it'll be as comfortable as it was in the Infinity the last 2 years, we'll have to wait and see. But I think he did a really good job, Ash Sutton, and yeah, he's always a pleasure to watch when racing.
Yeah, no, I think he'll definitely go well. They've got a few issues, I think, with the setup of that car. I think it was very good in the last race. Just needs to be a bit less aggressive on its front tyres in race runs, and it should be absolutely fine. I'm sure they'll get on top of it. Probably some of the best engineers ever at that place, especially on Ash's side, but that'll go through the whole team. Last drive we'll talk about Plato. He was going well.
Yeah.
And then had a puncture.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I always, like, these days since I've been doing my interviewing and everything, I wouldn't say I support a particular driver, but I really like Plato. You know, I love everything that comes with him and what he brings to the sport. So I really hope that this final year for him is a good one. He did a good job in qualifying, up in the mix, but like you say, who wasn't? And then race 1, he was running really well and top 10s, and it was looking like he'd be consistently in the top 10 for the rest of the day, maybe, you know, reverse grid if it was lucky. And I think it was like, I don't know, a lap or two before the end, and frustratingly it was right where we were stood in the puncture, so it was a bit of a nightmare. And when something like that happens, it ruins your day, especially with it being in race 1. So yeah, like potential, and it's good that the car seems to be working well for him, which he's maybe not had particularly recently, or a car that he feels that he can win in, which I think everyone is hoping that he gets those 3 wins this year, or however many he thinks he needs to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very unlucky, but yeah, he did a good job.
He definitely did, didn't he? He drove well. He's up against Josh Cook, who I still think is one of the top 3 or 4 drivers in that championship. So it will be interesting to see how he gets on. Look forward to Brands. What about this hybrid situation? Have you seen how that's going to work in qualifying?
Brands Hatch?
Yeah.
No, I imagine because it's going to be. I've not seen anything, but because it's such a short circuit, I guess it's going to.
It'll be really quite complicated.
Yeah.
So the championship leader, wherever you are in the championship, that's how much boost. As it goes down, you'll get more boost. So the higher up you're in the championship, the less you'll be able to use it in qualifying and things like that. So that'll be really interesting to see where they work. It's like a 47-second lap, something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's not a lot of places you're going to be able to use it because you have to be over 125 kilometres, 120 kilometres an hour, so it's 70 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot going on there. So it's a new challenge, new circuit. But I think it's going to be an interesting one, this, and I think the BMWs, I think the rear-wheel drive cars are going to come to the fore again.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, qualifying at those sort of circuits like Brands Indy or Knockhill or anything like that can be a bit of a nightmare with it being such a short circuit, but it can often sort of mix things up a bit. And yeah, it's going to be interesting where they're sort of using the boost and the hybrid, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, how much overtaking there's going to be. I think there'll be lots because there always is, but I think it's going to be a very exciting weekend.
Yeah, I think there'll be this is where you might see the hybrid deployment actually really work into places like coming out of clearways.
Yeah.
So you'll just be on the cusp of that speed you need to be at, and then getting underneath people for Paddock Hill Bend. So I think it'll work out pretty well, even going into Paddock Hill Bend and then getting the run up into Druids. I think it's going to be really, really cool, and lots of people will be on top of it now. Will be getting it, you know, completely sorted. So we'll see what happens with that. So that's Brands Hatch coming up. So it's Thursday today. Hopefully we'll get all this edited and we'll crack on. But before you go, mate, tell us all what Twitter, everything, YouTube, what is it?
So my YouTube channel is Hedgeworks Motorsport. It all started at the start of last year when we were in, what was it, the third lockdown? Yeah. So that was just sort of trying to turn a bit of a bad situation into a positive one. Sent out a few emailed you and lots of other drivers and personalities in UK motorsport, and you know, I thought I'll get a few interviews done, you know, with some people I know, and then it's kept on going. I've tried to be as consistent as possible with it, really. So yeah, I've interviewed you and lots of other people, which is really cool. Focusing on the touring cars because it works well for me, because you know, everyone loves it, but it's accessible with the drivers and stuff. So we've been really busy the last few months. We've been at the opening GB4 round at Snetterton. We were at the British Touring Car Media Day, which was very interesting, with lots of work going on behind the scenes with the new hybrid, because that was all new. And then we were at the first round at Donington as well. So yeah, if you want to go and have a look at my YouTube channel, Hedgeworks Motorsport, lots of interviews on there. Yeah, lots of drivers, and yeah, it's going well, and yeah, I'm loving it. It's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Right, we'll leave it at that, and we might have somebody else to speak to in a bit, but for now, we'll catch you later. Cheers, boss.
Thank you very much.
Nice one, mate. No worries. Cheers. Right then, let's have a word with the man, the myth, the the legend, the man, the myth, the legend. Had a great weekend, first weekend back in British Touring Cars. He's at Brands Hatch at home this weekend. Let's give da boy a ring. Hopefully he answers. Have a little chat with him. Signal's quite good, actually. I'm at Snetterton and it's so hot.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, boss. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, brother. I'm all good.
Very nice. What are you doing? Why is it so noisy? I'm at Snetterton, mate, so if you can hear any noise on this.
No, I'm literally standing behind my touring car, watching them track it at the moment, ready for shakedown at Brands Hatch at 1:40.
Oh, all right. Okay, so it's now 12:17, so I won't keep you long, lizard lips. But listen, mate, firstly, congratulations on, I thought, what was a very under-the-radar performance, but actually very good, mate, at the first round at Donington.
Yeah, solid. I thought I had a solid weekend, to be honest. I messed up the crucial bit was qualifying. I mean, I went out and had a qualifying sim in FB2, and we was 11th quickest, and we still had a bit more performance to find in the car. But the engine, M Sport, are still very new to the championship and still working with our engine, and it's clearly underpowered at the moment to the BMWs that were miles up the road, not even using hybrid, and they're pushing each other up the hill. But I think there's a lot more to come with our M Sport engine, and once I think we get that, I'll be definitely looking to battle for a top 10. I mean, qualifying, I just overdrove the car and we ended up 18th. First race I finished 14th, then we had a 15th and a 16th, which we were a lot higher in race 3, but I had a bit of contact with Collard and it just put the bent something on the car, which we had to sort of just drive around it and get it home, basically. So I was quite happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, so you should be, mate. 3 points on the board. You can't, it's, as we've always said, it's always difficult to score points in British touring cars, but for me, mate, I'm going to make a bit of a bold statement, but where you are at the minute, and I would expect you to be a few more places up this weekend at your own race, but you could get a reverse grid race here, and
that's the stuff dreams are made of, mate, isn't it? Especially I've got 300 fans coming, but 300 of my mates coming this weekend. So, but yeah, we sold pretty much, I think, 300 tickets or something, and something stupid like that. And yeah, we got loads of support here. And we got people in the clearways boxes. We got boxes over there. We got the people filled up in the hospitality. So it's going to be a party if we did manage to get a podium for sure.
Yeah, well, you never know, mate. It's the the second round will be a bit easier, I think. Like, a bit more about the car, the engine. You'll have obviously quite a bit of hybrid compared to the people who are up further in the championship. The circuit, the car suits that place, so it's all to play for, isn't it?
Yeah, I just feel like a different driver this year. I just feel like I've come back. I feel like it's my third year in touring car. I've only 5 years of driving anything. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like I've settled in with the team well. My teammate is a quick guy, but it's tough for anybody to come in on their first year, and it just feels like a good place to be. Do you know what I mean? With Power, it's quite relaxed. I've got a good team around me, good people, and I'm just going to go out there and enjoy it. And Donington was the first weekend. Well, I get a bit nervous sometimes when you're sitting on the grid and stuff. But it was the first weekend that I was sitting there, like, so relaxed, so chilled, and we treated every session. And my new engineer, Rob Peace, he's a great guy, and he's been around for many years, and he worked with Jason for the last few years here, and me and him have hit it off, and it's just a nice place to be.
Yeah, no, it's great, mate. Honestly, I think I know you scored a few points, but looking at it on paper, I think it's one of your best weekends in British touring cars, because it was.
I think it is.
Yeah, honestly,
I think it is.
That's how hard it is, isn't it? That's how hard the championship is.
Mate, you come here and get in the top 15 in British touring car and score points. I don't care who you are. It's a good score. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy with that. And if I know in my heart of hearts now, looking at the data and looking at everything across, with the engine power that we've got compared to the others, that's an easy fix for M Sport, and they're only learning. They're getting stronger and stronger. We're going to get better and better, and before you know it, we're going to be knocking on that top 10 for sure. Yeah,
definitely. Hey, listen, tell me about your teammate Ash Hand. I think people don't really understand how good he is, because for me, there's not many people who've pushed Ash Sutton so hard in a front-wheel drive car, and he pushed him so hard for the championship in Clio's, and that is no mean feat, is it?
Nah, he's a good kid. He's a fast peddler. He's obviously come with a good CV. I think he underestimated touring car, like everybody does.
Yeah.
For the first weekend, I think it was a bit overwhelming seeing the fans and the media and everything that you need to do around it, and that takes a bit of time to get used to. But I mean, the guy is so weird. he's such a good lad. Like, he's proper one of us. But he's like, right, Creasy, we're going to go on the track walk. I'm going to walk the track 3 or 4 times. I'm sitting there with a cup of tea and a packet of jammy Dodgers, and he wants to walk around the track about 8 times. And I'm like, no. But no, he's proper switched on. He's just turned up on the track now. He's been at iZone all morning. He puts he's so dedicated. He's and I can't wait for him to come on. So, Donington, it's difficult for me, Paul, because I've always had a Josh Kirk or a Tom Chilton or a Jack Goff or something in my previous years that I've always come in, looked at their data and improved myself. But this time I'm carrying the whole team on my shoulders at the minute, because I haven't got anybody's data to look for. And this is like no other normal year. I can't go back over years to look at the data, because the hybrid's so different, the weight's different. So I'm sort of like, really, this is a real tough year for me, but I feel like I've soaked it up and pushed forward. And I got quicker all weekend on what me and Rob were doing, and then Ash was looking at my data all weekend, which is different for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know, it's a very good point, that, mate, because you're kind of coming of age, aren't you? Having to lead it. I mean, it's not just any team; it's a race-winning team. That it's like, there's nothing that relates to what happened in previous years in that car. So you are like having to graft double hard here, aren't you?
Yeah, but coming off the Porsche with Team Parker, Stuart Parker, they're so good, that team, and everything I learned there in such a short space of time, like with the Porsche Super Cup stuff and the Formula One stuff and all that, and what you learn, you sort of come of age, because I've raced the best drivers in the world. Yeah. In that series, and you've been around the top teams in the world, and you sort of come back to touring car and think, right, people are watching, and you sort of take it by the scruff of the neck and move forward, and that's what I'm trying to do here now. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, it's amazing, mate, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Listen, just a quick one. What's the deal with these shakedowns these days? People probably don't know, but you used to shake down a car away from the circuit the week before, but now that's changed.
Yeah, well, we've also doing that as well. So we had our shakedown up at Western on Wednesday. Just so basically between every round, the cars are stripped down, every nut and bolt, and rebuilt. And what we do is we sort of just run it out up and down, only half hour or so, and just check that nothing's leaking. So when we turn up, because it's so important, as you know, FP1 and FP2, to get the car in the window, you don't get an hour each session.
Yeah.
We don't want to be turning up here and going, oh, well, that's leaking, or that brakes don't work, or whatever. We need to make sure the car's spot on before we get here, because it's so important to have every minute on the track here is important. So But with what's happened this year, and it started in 2020 when we didn't have any fans and stuff, we used to do a shakedown on a Friday evening just to run the cars in so the teams had a bit of a chance to get to work on the Saturday. But we're also doing that, which I think is a really good thing. I mean, it's been buzzing down here on a Friday now. There's fans walking around and there's people, it's just more engaging on the Friday to have a shakedown, and it's good for the sport as well, because other teams are also doing shakedowns away from the track, and then while we're all here we might as well just make sure the car's perfect for the weekend.
Yeah, sounds all very good, mate. Yeah, because as you say, you've got to get that thing all up and running, and it just makes more sense being at the circuit, doesn't it, doing it at the circuit?
Yeah. And these sports work. So I didn't give it enough credit, but everyone in this paddock, I watch these mechanics, and I've been at 3 different teams for 3 years in touring car, and I have to question myself, Paul, when I get home and think I need to put their work effort in what I'm doing, and I'll be a multi-millionaire, because these boys work so hard. I have to question myself.
I think, do you know what, mate? People forget how much of it. It's like I'm at Snetterton now with some lads in a front-wheel drive touring car for Brit Car, and they literally they didn't leave the circuit till 10 o'clock last night. They worked from 6 in the morning to get, and that's just a normal weekend. It's amazing, isn't it? What graft. They're proper. If they put them on, if you found out how much they were on per hour, it would not be a lot of money, would it?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm probably in midweek stuff when there's a couple of week break. I mean, my boys over here, they're doing TCR, they're doing different stuff all the time, so they literally don't get a break. But I mean, some others might have a bit of a slower week, but on a race weekend, they live, eat, sleep it. They're eating pizzas as they're trying to work, and then they're off at 10 o'clock at night, back in at stupid o'clock in the morning, and we just turn up and drive the cars. So it's just a credit to every touring car team, not just my one, but everyone in this paddock. The work is unbelievable what goes on.
Yeah, now it's mega, isn't it? Last one, mate. Have you got a message for any of your fans this weekend? What should they be looking forward to from you, mate?
Well, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I'm enjoying just turning up and taking it as it comes. But I mean, obviously, if we could get a reverse grid for race 3, or even, it's so finicky, this track, isn't it? A bit Mickey Mousey, where anything can happen, and normally the top 30 are covered by a second, so you just find that half a tenth more you could be pushing up the front there, and I'm really focused on my Saturday this time. So if I could do a good job Saturday and put us in the mix, then Sunday all the fans will I'll put on a show for sure.
Yeah, love it, mate. All sorted hybrid wise. Know what you're going to do, where you're going to deploy it?
Yeah, been working with that with Rob again, and obviously it's a bit different this weekend. They've dropped it down to 10 seconds per lap, so obviously it's a very short track.
Yeah.
So that might make a bit of a difference, but there's only a few places that you can use it to benefit the qualifying times, but when it goes into a race scenario, all that goes out of a window, because obviously you're trying to defend, you're trying to attack, and but in qualifying me and Rob have set up set points where we're deploying it to make maximum effect of it.
Yeah.
So we know exactly where we're going, what we're doing, and this is the difference. This is where I've been working so hard over the last 2 weeks with the team and the engineer, which I've never had to do before. So that's the good side of it, really.
Perfect. Have you got any messages for Martin Reardon, who's going to edit this?
Yeah, he's an absolute weapon of a geezer, and if I was a woman, I'd have his kids.
Right then, cheers, fella.
Josh Cook down there, the ginger. Sorry.
Send Josh my best. I'll tell him what you said.
Oh yeah, stop ringing me late at night with videos telling me how shit I am at touring car.
Oh mate, yeah. Sorry about that. I had a few too many to drink, mate.
You wait.
Oh God. Right.
All right, mate.
On that note, fella, I'll catch you over the weekend. Good luck, boss.
All right, love you. See you soon.
You too, mate. See you in a bit. Peace out. Very nice. Who doesn't like a Michael Crees interview? I literally love that guy. He's proper, isn't he? Coming of age, isn't he? Coming of age, I think. Having to lead the team. Ash Hand is a very, very capable peddler, and yeah, he's He's up front at the minute. I'm sure Ash will get better, but they'll push each other on as well. So, yeah, if you don't know much about Ash Hand, you should have a look into him because he was properly fast on British GTs and stuff as well. So good in front wheel drive, especially against Ash Sutton as his teammate a few years ago, but also very good in rear wheel drive. So basically can race a car. Right. Thank you, Martin Reardon, for editing this. As per usual, mate, you're an absolute legend. And thank you very much to Louis Hedge, who helped me out just before in the previous interview. What a lad. What a lovely guy. And anyone out there who's looking to commentate, to be a journalist in motorsport, look out for Louis, because that's how you operate. It's a class act. Right. Let's get to Brands Hatch. Peace out. Mwah.